Just a note, this episode had some internet connectivity issues due to some issues down here in Australia. We've cut together what we had, but apologies for any cuts or glitches. Hello and welcome to the Lit RPG Banter podcast, where we talk all things Lit RPG, game lit, progression fantasy, cultivation, and isekai. I am very excited today to be talking to Henrik Saetre, who is coming to us from home. Henrik, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm very, very happy to be here, Chris. This is my first time talking about my writing, and so very excited.
All right, so I was looking up your most recent Royal Road post because you have taken off on Royal Road in just a few very short series of time. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're working on Royal Road, because it's very exciting.
Yeah, so my name is Henrik. I'm from Norway, but I'm currently in Shanghai. My wife is Chinese, so we tend to spend our time about half between Norway and half between China. I started writing kind of more seriously about a little over a year ago, and just decided that I would be writing every day for a while and see how it goes. And now it's a year later, and I just launched my first story on Royal Road, Qing's Quest, lit RPG adventure. And it's nerve-wracking, fun, exciting, just really enjoying it. It's it's something looked forward to for a very long time, to actually go live and start having some feedback, and or feedback that is not from critique groups. And it's been a blast.
Because it is a long time. Like in lit RPG or game lit, you've often got to have this huge backlog. The stories are 150k words plus. But I'm looking at some of the reviews for your book, and they're 5-star reviews. They're saying it's lovely and gets right to the point. The prose is snappy, right to the point. Story starts running. Story is greater than the sum of its parts. So you're really hitting quite good reviews on Royal Road. Tell me a bit about that story. Tell me what happens. What's your elevator pitch?
Yeah, so I'm a huge PC gaming geek, and I was kind of thinking, like, what would it be like if you wake up in one of these action RPG worlds, for example, like Diablo, or well, now I'm blanking on everything else but Diablo.
Stuff like Path of Exile, Grim Dawn, I suppose.
Yeah, Grim Dawn, but not as the character as they are there. Because usually there you play someone like a barbarian or someone that is more. They have a background as a hero, and so I was more inspired by these really dark worlds that have something horrible happening in them. But how would it be if you were isekai'd into such a story, and you kind of have to deal with that as a normal human being? Of course, it turns out he's not normal in that place at all. He levels up, he becomes stronger, but there's that was kind of like my starting point. And then I just started thinking of what does the world look like. And I think this is something that I've been a little thinking about, whether I should make more clear in the book or not, which is more the overarching plot, like how he became isekai and things like that, because that's something that I plan to reveal later in the book series. But it's
Yeah, it's that's okay. I can see your brain literally turning over as you were considering the options, thinking, "Oh, what can I do better?" Which is really something very common in this genre. And I think one of the beautiful things about Royal Road, which is where you've launched Qing's Quest, is people can just get started. It doesn't have to be perfect. They can go back and change it later. I was reading Heretical Fishing, which is an Aussie lit RPG on Royal Road, and in it he went back and made it so that one of the characters, who's a crab, didn't essentially kill off a lobster who all the fans seem to love. And it was a really good example of Royal Road real-time decision making, because he polled his readers, like he polled them about the decision on whether to change the canon. So Royal Road's quite good. You can see some creative things. I see there's one, I think it's called I Only Level Up by Likes, and that character develops depending on how much people like it on Royal Road. Anyway,
okay. That's very meta. I love that.
It's very meta.
I'm definitely gonna have to check that one out. I thought you were gonna say I only hit up by getting hit in the balls or something, which I've heard about.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one. That looks really good.
Yeah, it does. It sounds it sounds really funny, but yeah, no, it's how to say, for my story, it's Qing's Quest. It's really just an action adventure the way I would like to read, with plenty of action, a little blood and guts, and at the same time doing my very best to have like an internal development as well. And in book one, what he's really struggling with is fear, because I figured that's probably what I would be feeling if I ended up in such a world with monsters and zombies and undead things trying to eat you. There would definitely be some fear there, and yeah. So that's really the story, and I see I have to improve on my elevator pitching practice.
That's all right. I think the story sells itself personally. Tell me about you. How did you get into writing? Is this your full-time gig? Do you do something else? Are you a long-term writer, or is this very new?
Yeah, so the way I got into writing, I don't know if this is something that happens to a lot of people, but I was working in the startup world, and I was just pushing really hard, over working by quite a bit, until my health said, we're not sure this is the right thing to do. Basically, I had a pretty intense health scare, and that just made me look a bit at life, and what do I want to do? How do I want to spend my time? And I've always been a voracious reader, just from young age, which I think most authors are. And I just decided, okay, I would like to try and write something. And then I stumbled upon Brandon Sanderson's videos online. I really love his writing, and I wasn't aware of that, but he actually publishes his writing course, like I think it's university or college level. It's a full semester of writing course that is filmed in the classroom at the college university where he teaches.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So I went through that, and I learned so much, and I just figured, maybe I can do this too. And then I just started writing a novelette first, not yet published, and then I kind of just left the writing alone for quite a while. And then I went back to just working way too hard, way too much, as happens.
I'm sure no one in the writing industry could empathize with that.
Yeah, not at all. But then then basically some other things happened at work, and I just figured, okay, I want to see if I can do something with the writing. And I made a goal to write pretty much every day. And at first, I kind of set the goal for a month. Like, I want to do a little bit of writing in my spare time for a month. And then that turned to 2 months and 3 months. And now it's been over a year where I've written every day. I have written, I think, over 500,000 words now.
I love that hustle. That is like most people can't sit down and do it every day. And the fact you've hit 500,000 words, which some people, quite frankly, would never hit. No one, there are a lot of people who quit at 100,000. That's magnificent, mate.
Yeah. So I think that's just a bit my personality. If I'm supposed to do something now and then, I'm really bad at doing it. But if I do something every day, then you just do it. Then there's no choice. So I started doing that, and I wrote first one book, an urban fantasy that's not published. I think someday I'll go back and fix all the things that's wrong with it. But it was my first book, so basically the plot just doesn't make sense. I was pantsing my way through it. It doesn't really make sense. And then I wrote half the second book in that series, and then I went to 20 books to 50K meetup in Sevilla. That was in 2023, and I met just so many wonderful authors there. And I'd also recently read some lit RPG because I hadn't heard about it before, and I was just smitten. It's so cool. Like, video games as books, like, how cool is that? And I just figured, okay, I think this is something that I want to write. And at that point, my wife and I, we both left our jobs and decided we were going to go travel do an extended period of travel. So I actually wrote Qing's Quest, the first draft. I wrote while we traveled for 3 months. And it's written across 12 countries, I think we visited.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it was like I took some photos, maybe I'll put together a collage someday, but I have like a photo of me at like, I think 5:30 a.m. in the back of the bus in Egypt on the way down to see some, old stuff. And I'm just, plugging away at the computer, trying to get my words in. And, we also went into the Sahara when we were in Morocco. And there, I just had to write the day before we went into the Sahara, and then I wrote the night after we came back out of the Sahara. And so it was a fantastic experience, both the writing of the book, but also just traveling for an extended period of time, like a gap quarter or something like that.
Because I guess there's an interesting mindset there that a lot of Royal Road people and people who are just trying to make the transition have, where if you have another job or if you have other things going on, you've got to be writing in those spare moments. You've got to be able to set up and go, whether it's the back of a bus or whether it's a coffee shop before work. How do you balance that between the hustle mindset of always being on and always cranking out those words until you hit the success you want versus being present and not getting burnt out?
I have no idea.
Okay. I think a lot of us in that scenario.
I'm half joking. I mean, this is just something with my wife and I, one of the things I think makes I think we have a great relationship, and I think a big part of that is just how much we communicate. So we talk about things, and that's very much what we did. So if she feels that I'm getting if I was getting too too pulled into the realm and not present, we would talk about that. And what we kind of did was we figured out some days if we were going to go do something specific, like let's say we're going to go see the pyramids, then I would get up and I would do the writing in the morning.
Okay, Henrik. So the internet gods have spoken down here in Australia. We are having massive issues. We will come back and chat with you at some other point, just while we have working internet. Can you give us a brief spiel of where they can find your stuff and where to look for your content?
Yeah, so you can find Qing's Quest, a lit RPG adventure, on Royal Road. And yeah, I hope as many as are interested would come take a look at the story. I think you'll find it exciting. And thank you very much for having me on your show, Chris.
No worries. That's been the Lit RPG Banter podcast. Thank you for throwing some magnificent banter.